Chris, this might be the first time in a very long time that I can remember we're going into a game on Sunday for the Carolina Panthers that I actually truly expect them to win. Not like, hey, they have a chance, but truly expect them to win a game.
Boy, I'm 100% with you.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go win this thing.
Yeah. Bear down. Like, as in down. Because Panthers are up, baby. Let's go.
Let's get this sucker started.
Get dialed in, Panthers fans. Here comes an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews. Locker room insight. Ready? Let's huddle up.
Let's just do it, okay?
For Panthers Playbook, driven by Carolina Ford Dealers. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That is Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. By the way, Carolina Panthers have a big matchup this Sunday against the Chicago Bears. We're going to dive more into that here in just a little bit. And also leave your thoughts in the comment section about what your expectations now are for this team moving forward. And by the way, Panthers Playbook is sponsored by friends at Carolina Ford Dealers. With a Ford F-150 on your team, it's game on. See your Carolina Ford dealer today. Chris, before we actually get into the game and our thoughts on the game, our thoughts are with the western part of North Carolina and the folks in upstate South Carolina. Just everything that happened with Hurricane Helene. We know we get a lot of people that interact with us and watch Panthers Playbook that are from those areas. And to see everything that's happening over there, it breaks our heart. It truly does. And I can't say enough about how much we're thinking about them. And hopefully people are trying to help in any way, shape, or form.
Man, I've been on the phone with some people this entire week. You know, I'm on the board of a nonprofit here in Durham, and just talking with some of the board members, our executive director, on what we can do. You know, we help out the community of Durham, what we can do to extend that and send that to the western part of our state in North Carolina and hopefully parts of South Carolina as well. It is very heartbreaking to see. It's also heartbreaking to see that some of those high school football teams out there may not finish their 2024 season.
Yeah.
Pisgah High School, specifically in Canton, North Carolina, they had a problem where their field was flooded out because of a flash storm like 3 years ago. They couldn't use their field for 2 years. They had this big ceremony to open it back up last year where Governor Cooper was there, and they lost their field again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, you know, other places, you know, Freedom High School in Morganton and so many of these other places that are, you know, are really suffering. And some of these kids may not be able to live out their dreams of playing high school football for the rest of this year. They don't get a red shirt. They don't get a COVID year to get another year of eligibility. This is, you know, a year gone for them. And then beyond football, the fact that people are losing their homes, folks have lost their lives, people can't leave their neighborhoods, can't get into their neighborhoods. It's such a devastating thing. It's legit North Carolina's version of Katrina. And my heart just goes out to all the people who've been impacted by this storm. And, you know, just know that Dennis and I are thinking of you. And even if you can't see this right now, you go back. Just know that Dennis and I are thinking of you, and there's so much that we are trying to do together and our company, Capital Broadcasting, to help you guys out as much as we can.
And as we know that sports can be a distraction, can be an outlet for people that are trying to get away from stuff. And that's hopefully what we can be here for you all. Yes. And hopefully that the Panthers can provide that on Sunday with the win. Yes. Thinking about this past Sunday, they were right there despite all the mistakes that they made on Sunday, Chris, which actually I kind of looked back on it. I was like, dang it, if couple of drops that maybe were catches like Deontay Johnson down the left sideline or in the end zone or Xavier Legette or golly, Nick Scott, please make a tackle. There's some different things like that.
Charles Harris,
things like that. But it's all coachable stuff, and were right there. And we noticed in the locker room, because we were there in the locker room, Chris, that the vibe of this team seems to be a complete 180 from when we were in the locker room after the Chargers lost. Because against the Chargers, that place looked lost. Yes. As in, like, they didn't have an answer for anything. And that was week 2. After week 4, man, chins up. Hey, we know we made mistakes. We're disappointed at the loss, but we like where we're headed.
I've been covering the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium since 2016. And it was like from afar before that, but like since 2016, that was my first time there and in the locker room. that means I've covered my fair share of losses for the Carolina Panthers,
Yes,
especially since 2018. And the theme was no matter who's been on the team, no matter who's the captain that particular year, no matter who's the head coach, after a loss, those people go missing. Like there's usually the one or two that you can count on. Greg Olsen was one of the guys that we can count on at one point. You know, Austin Corbett now is one of the guys that we can count on.
For sure.
Bradley Bozeman, when he was there for the 2 years, shout outs to him. I mean, we tore into him last year. He was one of the guys you could count on to be there and answer questions for sure. And folks otherwise just went missing. That was not the case for me and you. Like, as a matter of fact, we decided not to interview a few guys because we just needed to hurry up and, do the podcast.
Yeah.
And like, we could have talked to a few more guys. And that's typically not the case after a game. That shows me a lot. And it shows me that this team knows that they're turning the corner. And it's cool hearing the stories out of practice this week. Somebody like Shaq Thompson, he could literally we found out, we didn't get a chance to talk about this Sunday, that he's done for the season with the torn Achilles, had surgery on the day that we are recording this. And he could just disconnect for the rest of the year. No,
easily.
He's cutting up film the day of his surgery for Trevin Wallace, so Trevin Wallace can be prepared for Sunday because he's going to be the green dot. Bro, there's a different feel with this team right now. Very different. And, whether their record reflects that or not at the end of the year, this team is on their way up. And as long as they can keep some core pieces and they stick on to Dave Canales' coaching and the quarterback situation is okay, I expect the Carolina Panthers to become a winning franchise within the next few years.
I hope you're right. 100% hope you're right. And that could start with a win this Sunday, Chris.
Yes.
And like we said at the open, I actually expect them to win this game. Not like, hey, we have a chance. This is if they don't win this game, I will actually legit be disappointed.
Yeah.
I will be disappointed. Not in the sense of, man, this franchise has no direction or any of that kind of stuff. No, it's like, this is a winnable game. A game that they should win. I haven't checked the betting lines or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not entirely sure if they're favored right now. But to me, I look at Chicago and go, that offense ain't clicking. I know that Keenan Allen is back. I know they drafted Rome Odunze. Our guy DJ Moore is up there. And they got the #1 overall pick in Caleb Williams, but that offensive line stinks. They're not moving the ball. There's no reason why the Panthers should not win this game, especially the way their offenses looked the last 2 weeks.
I will say this: ESPN has the Bears as a 4-point favorite.
Home team always gets 3 points, so yeah, I get that. But
and
Panthers
also
win this game.
They're 2-1. 2-0 at home. The Bears are. So that is a factor in this game. But I'm 100% with you, right? Like, I know that Chicago can possibly bring it on defense, but as you said, that offensive line, man, it leaks. It leaks, and so hopefully Shy Tuttle is feeling good and comes back full force. We still don't have DJ Wanham, but Jadeveon and Clowney, Charles Harris, you guys are brought in for this. You got to get to that young quarterback. You got to make him feel you early on. And this is something I want to see. I hope that they can actually do it. And I'm 100% with you. I expect the Carolina Panthers to actually win this game on Sunday.
Speaking of Jadeveon Clowney, I think, if I remember correctly, I'm going to have to pull the stats back up, but I know he had a couple of pressures on the quarterback, but I don't think he registered a tackle on Sunday. I want to see the disruptor, because that's the word Dave Canales used early in the season, talking about Jadeveon Clowney when they're going, good versus good, starting offense versus starting defense. And he said that Jadeveon Clowney was a disruptor that completely threw everything off. I'm looking back through, Jadeveon Clowney didn't have a tackle, not one. I know you got pressure on the quarterback that ended up eventually led to an interception. But, dude, you got to be more than just one play. You got to be more than just one play.
I'll say this, and, to not sound like people think I sound like with Bryce Young. They really don't run his way, right? Like, they kind of run towards that left side a lot like other teams have. for the Carolina Panthers. And so his job also as the outside linebacker is to set that edge. So a lot of times he's the one who's assisting the play to go inside so other people can get that tackle. So
yeah, well, they're not doing that.
That's they're not doing that. That's not a complete excuse. That doesn't excuse him from not getting one tackle during the game, but that also kind of shows a little bit of what's going on. But that'll be something that I'm definitely watching for on Sunday. Like, dude, we got to see you make a splash, because now with Derrick Brown out, with Shaq out for the season, Josie Jewell's going to be out for this game because he's injured.
Yeah.
Like, you're the guy, and I know that, JC Horn is going to be there, but he's going to be taking care of things. JC Horn and Xavier Woods going to be taking care of things as far as the secondary are concerned. Like, up front, you're going to be the guy, and we need you to lead that charge and to set the example and lead by example. Get those tackles, try to get a sack on the young quarterback, get some pressures, get some hurries, and help Trevin Wallace out. Trevin Wallace is going to be a huge part of this defense and how they're able to attack. If that's the one thing, Dennis, honestly, that gives me cause to pause would be the injuries right now for the defense.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I feel you. I'm not saying that Carolina Panthers should run away with it. It's not going to be a Raiders type of game.
No.
But this should be a game that you should be able to win. As what you did against the Bengals last week, that's a better team, in my opinion, even though the records don't say so. You should be able to win this game.
Yeah, and speaking of the injuries on defense, it's not like the defense was playing lights out before these injuries were happening anyway. Right? So it's now you're really going to get tested. And this, I think, where Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator, all right, man, you got to prove yourself as a defensive coordinator here too, right? Because last time I checked, opposing teams have gotten into the red zone 12 times against the Carolina Panthers in 4 games, and they've come away with touchdowns on 11 of them. Over 90% of the time, teams have gotten in the red zone this season against the Panthers, they've gotten a touchdown. You got to hold them to field goals. I mean, that's also somewhat, maybe that's personnel, but last year when the Panthers had a better defense than what they have right now, they were still one of the worst in the NFL in red zone touchdown percentage defensively. That's on you as a coach, in my opinion. You got to change something either schematically or whatever it is that you got to do in order to make sure that you are holding teams to field goals. You can't be giving up 31. You just can't, because, I mean, as well as the offensive plays, I don't know if this offense can hold up in a shootout week in and week out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The offense is still trying to find itself. I mean, clearly the defense is trying to find themselves as well. But I mean, you're right. It will be cool to see the Panthers hold this team in particular to under 20 points, because they haven't done that so far this season.
No.
You gave up 47, then 26, then 22, and then 24. Like, the Raiders were close, and you could, make the argument that the last 2 scores for the Raiders was garbage time. So, really it was under that. But let's also just take garbage time out of it. Like, actually, let's try to hold this team to under 20 points and get Andy Dalton a shot to go out there. If the offense could go out there and score 3 touchdowns and get a field goal, this is very much so, again, to beat a dead horse, very much so a winnable game that you and I both expect them to win.
The Chicago Bears are one of the worst in the NFL right now, actually tied for 30th in the NFL with Dallas offensively in terms of yards per rush, like rush yards per attempt, that 3.5. Like,
now we know what they're going to do great against the Carolina Panthers on Sunday.
Well, that's the thing. The Panthers are one of the worst in the NFL in terms of yards allowed per rush at 4.6.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing. So it's like weakness versus weakness. Like, which one's going to fall over faster? That's really about it. It's like Jenga pieces that you're stacking up. Eventually, something's going to fall. You think, right? But this is also where I think Carolina has actually gotten much better as a team offensively. I know Chuba Hubbard the last 2 weeks. Dude's been cooking.
Yes.
Dude's been cooking. And I think this is something that we're going to see, hopefully, Carolina lean on over the next, however many games. I mean, this is something that Dave Canales said he wanted to do, is everything is established through the run. Everything is established through the run. And Chicago, as a team, gives up 4.5 yards per carry, which is right there even with what Carolina does defensively. I think this is primed to be another big Chuba Hubbard game. 100 plus yards for Chuba Hubbard, not out of the realm of possibility this weekend.
Here's the thing, though, when it comes down to Chuba Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing so well that I am fearful that he will not be a Carolina Panther next year.
Oh,
because
hold on now.
last year of his contract, right?
That he is. Final year of his rookie contract.
And so if you're Chuba Hubbard, wouldn't you want to have, like, if you're talking with the Carolina Panthers about money, your baseline is what you gave Miles Sanders? Like, let's start there. And then we're going to talk about going up because, like, I'm actually producing while that guy who's getting paid that isn't producing what I'm producing. So, like, that's the baseline. We're starting there. That was 3 years, 24 million, whatever that was?
It was 4 years, 26, if I remember correctly.
Okay, I thought it was a 3-year deal, but it was, we can look that up and to look at it. But yeah, like Chuba's balling. Like over the last 2 weeks, he's third in the NFL in rushing yards at 218. He's third in the NFL in yards after contact at 124. He's tied for second in the NFL for first downs. That's 13. And he has the fourth highest PFF grade for running backs at 85.6. Like, he's legit showing that he's one of the best in the league right now. And over the last 2 weeks, one of the reasons why it's working is because the Panthers aren't necessarily playing from way behind, right? They're not like all of a sudden down 21-0 early on in the game. So like now we don't have to just throw every down. We can also give him a steady diet of the rock and he can run it. And that's why he has these numbers, man. So, that's why I'm fearful. So, hey, Jonathon Brooks, bruh, I hope you're watching because we might really count on you next year for sure.
4 years, $25.4 million.
It was 4 years.
4 years, $25.4 million. But they can get out of that Miles Sanders contract after this year, and the dead cap hit next year is a shade under $3 million, and then in 2026 the dead cap is a shade under 1.5. So that's where Miles Sanders ain't going to be here after this year. I can tell you that much. But
is there a scenario where it's Miles Sanders and Jonathon Brooks instead of Chuba Hubbard
next year? I hope they approach Chuba and say, hey, look, if they give him like 3 years, 18 mil, so about $6 million, which is roughly similar to what Miles Sanders got. 3 years, 18 million. Let's guarantee 12. So basically, like the first 2 years are guaranteed. Can we have ourselves a D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart combination again, please? Like,
I would love it. I would love it.
Happen.
I would love it.
Happen because guess what?
I would love it.
You remember you were there. Dan Morgan's introductory press conference when he talked about we need to find dogs. As Jay Stu would say, looked right at Jonathan Stewart, said, like Jay Stu would say, we need some dogs.
A Canadian.
Who's been the dog on this team offensively so far? Who's been that dog? It's been Chuba Hubbard, right?
Absolutely.
It's been Chuba Hubbard. When Dan Morgan played in that Super Bowl team, there was Stephen Davis and Deshaun Foster, right? And then he fully understands the days of Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. The 1-2 combination at running back. And if Dave Canales' team who wants to run the football, make it happen. Like, I want to see Chuba Hubbard. I think the way he has played and fits into this offense, I think he has built himself to a point where he should be part of the plans of this team moving forward. I legit think so. Now, again, like you mentioned, he might say, I'm going to go to the open market. I can get paid more. And you know what? I don't blame anybody for doing that one bit. But golly, I want to see that guy on this team. I think he could be a key part of this offense as a 1-2 punch with he and Jonathon Brooks.
I absolutely want to see that as well. I really hope, because the Panthers are going to have a lot of decisions to make for next year.
Oh yeah.
Because like right now, there's like $670,000 left under the cap right now. 600.
A whole lot.
So there's not a lot left right now. So there are going to be decisions made on some guys, and Andy Dalton's a guy whose contract is coming up.
Oh, bring him back, please.
We need to. But if he balls out for the rest of the year, is he going to want to get paid too? just a little bit more than what he's coming in on right now. So there are some things. I mean, I don't want to, set up this doomsday, type of scenario right now in week 5. But like now that guys are balling out, we're going to have to think about that. Deontay Johnson. We're going to have to think about it.
Gotta have to think about it. But
it's there in the back of your mind. You're going to have to think about it.
This is probably an episode we can do actually probably in the coming weeks, depending on where this team is in terms of the standings and their win-loss record and everything moving forward, about who do they bring back, and also who wants to stay. I think because a guy like Deontay Johnson, he might sit there and say, like, hey, you know what? Like, I didn't choose to be here in Carolina. I was traded here. I want to choose where I go. I was drafted by Pittsburgh. I was traded here to Carolina. I want to choose where I want to go play. Now, if it's here and the organization wants them, then make it happen. But those are all things you have to take into consideration going forward, too.
Deontay did say that he would prefer to stay with the Panthers, but that's also like the right thing to say, because
it is the right thing to say.
Team that you're with.
Yes.
And Dave Canales also addressed those trade rumors, which, by the way, I'm starting to question how some of those come up, because I feel like it's people who are putting that out there who think that the Carolina Panthers have literally nothing to play for. And like the Panthers are still trying to win games.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I don't see a scenario, unless I'm just completely off base. And tell me if I'm off base. I don't see a scenario where they trade Adam Thielen or Deontay Johnson, as other people have reported or suggested earlier this season. Like, don't just look at their record at 1-3 and think like, oh, it's time for them to pack it up. Like, no. They had 2 bad games under Bryce Young. They could have won against the Bengals. Like, the Panthers lost that. The Bengals did not win it from them. The Panthers lost that. There's a few key things the Panthers could have done to win that game. And now you're looking at a very light schedule, as far as like teams who weren't really good last year, that there's some winnable games there. Again, I'm not expecting them to win 10 games, but I do expect them to look a lot better for this year, and a team that could still make a push towards the end, possibly. Like, why pack it up? So I'm kind of wondering, like, who puts this type of stuff out there? I don't know if that's a real thing.
I'm wondering if it's like teams floated out there just to be like, let's see what a price potentially could be.
Yeah.
Like, that's really it. And then who knows what the market's going to dictate in terms of, we know Devontae Adams has requested a trade. You never know, like DeAndre Hopkins could be on, like, so who knows where like Deontay Johnson would fall in the pecking order in terms of like desirable. But
the Chiefs need somebody.
They need like 4 guys, I think, right now with all the injuries that they've dealt with. But I think that's the question. Like, time will tell on that. If the Panthers are at 500, I ain't trading anybody. No way in heck am I trading anybody. But you know what? But if they're 1-7, and Deontay Johnson says, "Hey, I don't want to come back here next year," then explore all options. But you know what? Let's go win Sunday, Chris.
Starts with that.
Let's go win Sunday.
If you win Sunday by week 5, you've totaled your entire win total from last year,
bro.
So like literally, it's nothing but up. It's nothing but up from here.
Oh gosh, to think that Andy Dalton in 3 games did as much as Bryce Young did all last season.
Here's one thing though. Here's something I thought was kind of interesting. Before we get out of here, Andy Dalton said there's 3 teams he hasn't beaten in the NFL.
Yeah.
Hasn't beaten the Bears, Cowboys, Panthers. He has an opportunity to beat 2 of those teams this year. Andy, I'm rooting for you to get to 31, because you're not going to get to 32.
Hey, just don't beat the Panthers, if you know what I mean.
No
pick sixes.
Don't go to the Saints next year again. And come back and beat us, because the Saints would do something petty like that. So
they probably would.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're not going to be petty. Not yet, at least. This has been this has been Panthers Playbook with Carolina Ford dealers on your team, with a Ford F-150 on your side. It's game on. See your Carolina Ford dealer today. Chris, we'll have another episode this coming Sunday, right after the Panthers win. Saying it right now. Let's go.
Panther up. Bears down.
We're right back.